Hungarian Folk Tales. The Mayor's Clever Daughter. As many people know, Hungary's King Matthias liked to roam the country. Once he walked into a tiny village to see how the local people lived. There was an inscription on the gate of the mayor's house that read, "Here lives the village mayor. Here he lives with no trouble or care." King Matthias made a note of these words and scribbled the mayor's address down in a little book. "If your life's so carefree, Mr. Mayor, then it's my job to give you something to worry about," he thought. Then the king returned home. Back in those days, jugs were made out of clay, and one of the king's jugs had a hole in it. So King Matthias sent the jug down to the mayor, saying that he should mend the jug, or else have his head chopped off. The village mayor received both the jug and the message. He was very sad, because he really did not know what to do. The mayor had a pretty daughter who asked her father, "Dear father, I've never seen you worry like this before. What on earth's wrong? Why are you so very sad?" "Why should I bother telling you? You could never help." "But perhaps I can help after all. His Majesty the King has sent me a jug with a hole in it, with an order to mend it. But if I cannot fulfill his command, he'll have my head chopped clean off." "Oh, father, please don't be so sad. Send the jug back to the king with a message that he should turn the jug inside out, as material is always mended on the other side." Very well. And he sent the jug back with the message. This was a brilliant idea because the jug could never be turned inside out. After this, the king sent a millstone and ordered the mayor to skin it. This made the mayor even sadder, because it's impossible to skin a millstone. His daughter asked the mayor, "Why are you so sad again, father dear?" "My sweetest daughter, you definitely won't be able to help me this time, but perhaps I can help you after all. His Majesty has sent me a millstone and ordered me to skin it. If I do not obey him, I shall have my head lopped off. But it's really not a problem at all. Write a letter to the king, asking him to have the millstone slaughtered, because no beast can be skinned before it's had its throat cut, and so the king should do the same to the millstone first." So the mayor sent the millstone back to the king with that message. The idea proved to be brilliant, and so this time the king ordered him to visit him at the palace. The village mayor went up to the palace where he thought he would be rewarded. But instead, the king wanted to know who had given him these inventive ideas and so the mayor was forced to confess. I have a pretty daughter at home who helped me solve those two riddles. Very well, Mayor, I want you to go home and tell your daughter to come to my palace. She should wear no dress, but should not be naked, and she should not walk, should not ride, and should not come in a carriage. She also should, but should not bring me a gift. Head chopped off. So the mayor went home in very low spirits. He was convinced that his young daughter would never be able to solve such a complex riddle. The mayor told his daughter what the king had said, and then he added, "This is the end for you, my darling girl." "Why so, father dear?" "The king said you have to go to the palace. You should not wear a dress. You should not be naked. You should not walk. You should not ride. You should not go by coach. You should take him a gift, and at the same time, you should not take him a gift." "Very good, father. I shall go. Don't worry. Everything will be fine." So the girl took off her dress, but kept on her bra. Thus she was not wearing a dress, but at the same time, she was not naked. Then she took a billy goat and put one of her feet on the back of the goat and walked on one foot on the edge of the road. She then took a white dove and carried it in her hand, and this is how she went to the palace to see the king. When the king saw the girl, he was very surprised. Then the girl spoke to the king and said, "Your Majesty, I present myself upon your order." "This is your gift," she said, and let the dove fly away. Thus she took, and she did not take a gift. Then the king said, "Everything is fine, my girl, but tell me, why did you not hide your private parts instead of your bosoms?" And the girl replied, "Your Royal Highness, my private parts were created by God, but I grew my bosoms myself. I am ashamed of them, and that's why I hid them." The king gave the girl a handsome reward, and that is the end of my story. Hungarian Folk Tales. The Little Pulley Dog. Once upon a time, a very, very long time ago, Jesus roamed the earth with St. Peter. They sought shelter for the night and knocked on many doors of many houses, but no one would let them in because they were dressed as lowly beggars. One day they came to the mansion house of a rich landowner. "Let us see if these good people will accommodate us for the night." So the two lowly beggars entered the house, where they were made warmly welcome. Their kind hosts made them a hot supper and gave them soft beds to sleep in that night. The next morning they thanked their kind hosts and left to go on their way. And as they left, Jesus said, "Peter, this man is rich and has everything in the world he needs, and yet there is still one vital thing that he lacks. We shall give him the gift of a beautiful baby boy, and we will provide that boy with whatever he needs whenever he asks for it." So the rich man called his servant John, and John overheard what the two beggars had said. Soon the woman of the house became heavy with child. And she gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. Soon after the baby was born, the rich man had to travel to the local village, and his wife stayed at home with their young child. Then John had an idea. He cut the throat of a hen and smeared the red blood around the wife's mouth to make the rich landlord think that she had eaten the child. And then he stole away, taking the child with him. They rode and rode until they came to the town where the king lived. "Here," John said to the boy, "do you see, son, what a splendid palace the king lives in?" "I do, father." "Now ask for a much better one at the other end of the town." And so the boy asked for a palace, and it really was much more spectacular than the one the king owned. The locals soon began to gossip about the magnificent palace that had sprouted out of the ground overnight. Even the king became curious to see for himself, and so he went to the brand new palace and declared that it really was much grander than his own and had everything a man could wish for in a home. The king soon came to like John, and so he let him marry his beautiful daughter. But after the wedding was over, the princess began to question John. "Tell me, John, where did you get this beautiful boy from if you say that you have never been married before? And how come you own such a glorious home? Don't nag me, wife. I shall tell you everything one day." One day, when the boy was grown, he arrived home from school in a horse-drawn carriage. His wife told John that she would not live with him for a day longer if he did not tell her from where he got the boy and the palace. And so John began to explain. As the two of them were talking, John said to his wife, "We forgot to tell the coachman to take the boy home." And as they opened the door, they saw that the boy had been standing outside and heard every word they had said. They called him to eat, but instead the boy went down to the stables and told the coachman to saddle him a horse as he planned to leave. When the horse was saddled, he told his father, "Now, John, you should turn into a black pulley dog and follow me." Then the boy, who had no name, left for home. By evening, he arrived at a mayor's house, where he asked for shelter for the night. The mayor and his wife made the boy supper, but when they offered food to his pulley dog, he told them not to. Instead, he gave the little dog coal to eat. In fact, the coal was still aflame from the fire. The mayor said, "I have never seen anything like it in my life that a prince should feed a fine dog with burning coal." "Mayor, have you ever heard of a person being buried alive?" "Yes, I have. And did it happen far from this place?" "It's a long ride by horse from here." In the morning, the prince awoke and again fed the pulley dog with burning coal. And he rode until he eventually arrived at a second village. Here again he sought shelter with the local mayor. They fed him a fine meal, and again he asked for burning coal to feed his pulley dog. The mayor said, "I have never heard of such a thing before. How is it that such a fine dog eats hot coals?" "Yes, but have you ever heard, Mayor, of a person being buried alive?" "I have, and it happened not far from here. If you ride fast, you will soon be there." So after a good night's sleep, the prince continued his journey. He arrived in his own village the next day at noon, where again he sought shelter with the local mayor. They fed him a fine meal, and again he asked for burning coal to feed his pulley dog. "I have never heard of such a thing before. How is it that such a fine dog eats hot coals?" "Yes, but have you ever heard, Mayor, of a person being buried alive?" "Yes, I have, and it happened here." "Is the man still alive who buried the woman alive?" "Yes, he is." "Then please, Mayor, come with me." Then they went to see the landlord. But he had become so poor during the last 16 years that all he had was a pile of burning coal in the middle of his house and nothing more. The prince strode up to the pile of coal and gave a piece to his pulley dog to eat. "I have never heard of such a thing before. How is it that such a fine dog eats hot coals?" "Yes, but have you ever heard of a person being buried alive?" "Yes, it happened to be my wife." "Could you show me where she was buried?" "I was not in the cemetery, so I don't know where they buried her." "That is such a shame. Is there a man or woman alive who attended that funeral?" "Yes, there is." "Go then and call those people here." So off the landowner went and called his neighbours. Then they went to the cemetery, and the neighbours told the prince which grave was his mother's. As the boy stopped in front of the grave, he said, "Dark wooden coffin, come up to the light." And the coffin came up at once. "Open your lid, coffin." The lid of the coffin sprang open. His mother was still alive in the coffin, and she was sewing a shirt for her son. Then he took his mother by her arm and led her to his father. "Well, father, do you recognize her as your wife?" "Yes, I do. Pulley dog, you must turn back into John at once." And the pulley dog turned back into John. "Do you recognize this man as your servant?" "Yes." "Do you recognize me as your son?" "Yes." That was why my dear mother had to suffer for 16 long years under the ground. "John, take the horse, ride home, and live a happy life with your wife." The boy stayed with his father, and they became 7 times richer than ever before. And they all lived happily ever after. You may think this a tale, but this story is true. Hungarian Folk Tales. Abeles Kobeles. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a king. One day the king was out hunting in the forest and became so very lost that he could not find his way. "I wish someone would lead me out of this frightening forest, and I would give him a sack of gold for his troubles." Follow me and I will lead the way. And that's what he did. You should know, King, that I need neither money nor anything else, but give me that what you have now, but did not have before you left your palace this morning. The king thought and thought that he must mean a cat, or something simple like that. When the king arrived home, his servants ran out to meet him, shouting, "Make haste, your majesty, because you have a beautiful baby daughter, more radiant than the sun itself." But to make a long story short, the little man had said that he would only come to fetch the girl on her 15th birthday. When the king saw how pretty the princess was, he knew not whether to weep with joy or with sorrow. The queen said to him, "Are you not happy?" "Oh yes, I'm happy, very happy," the king said, and he told her the story. Days became months, and months became years, and the princess grew. On her 15th birthday, the devil appeared because the little man was really the devil. "Send your daughter out, king, for I have come to collect her at last." "Oh dear, oh dear," the king and the queen wept and wailed. "What can we possibly do?" The gooseherd's daughter was also there, so they quickly dressed her in golden robes studded with diamonds. Then they put a crown on her head, opened the door, and sent her out. The devil had a wheelbarrow that he made the girl sit in, and he pushed her away. He pushed her past water where geese were swimming. When the geese saw the girl, they began to gaggle. "Ga, ga, ga, where are you going, goose girl?" "I'm going to hell and the devil's taking me." "You're not the real princess?" the devil asked. "No, not at all. I'm the gooseherd's daughter." So the devil grew so angry that he tipped the girl from the barrow and left her there. The devil marched back to the royal palace. "Listen, king, if you won't give me your daughter, I'll smash your door in." "Oh dear," wailed the king and the queen. The swineherd's daughter was also there, so they quickly dressed her in golden robes studded with diamonds. Then they put a crown on her head, opened the door, and sent her out. The pigs soon began to grunt. "Where are you going, pig girl?" "I'm going to hell, and the devil's taking me." "You're not the real princess?" the devil asked. "No, not at all. I'm the swineherd's daughter." "Listen, king, open the door and give me the princess, or else I shall set your palace on fire." The king and the queen were both terrified, so they dressed their daughter while they wept, and they pushed her out of the door. The devil was delighted. He put the girl straight into his barrow and wheeled her to hell. Once there, she met a boy called John, who had also been stolen away from somewhere. They were both forced to work hard. John toiled all day in the stable, and the princess did the cooking, the baking, the cleaning, and she looked after the devil. Time passed, and John and the princess spent all their time together. One day John said, "Princess, we should both run away from the devil." "But how could we do that?" "I know a magic spell. I overheard the devil say it. I shall cast a spell on the broom and spit on it. Then the broom will answer for us when the devil tries to find us." That sounds like a wonderful plan. So they waited until the devil fell fast asleep, put the broom by the door, and John spat on its handle. "Speak for us when the devil calls us." Now the devil woke up. "Where are you, princess? Bring me my clothes. I want to get dressed." "Right away," the broom replied. The devil waited for a while and then called again. "Are you bringing my slippers? What takes you so long?" "I'm coming right away." "Wait until I catch you, you naughty child. Where are you, naughty girl?" "Here I am." "Where are you, manservant? Quickly sit on a shovel and ride off after them into the sky. Catch them and bring them back to me." "John, my left ear is itching. Look back." "Oh dear, princess, the devil's servant is after us and he's very close. Let us quickly do magic. I will be an old priest and you can become a church." And so that is what they did. Listen, old priest, have you seen young John and a princess passing this way? The old priest pretended to be praying. Abeles, corbeles, abeles, corbeles. Old priest, don't chant verse to me, but tell me if you have seen John and the young princess. Abeles, corbeles, abeles, corbeles. Then the devil's servant sat back on the shovel and flew back to hell. The young couple turned quickly back, the church became the princess, and the old priest became John, and the two of them continued. Have you seen them? Could you reach them? Did you bring them back? I saw no one except an old priest and a church. But the priest was a fool and simply said, Abeles, corbeles, to all of my questions. Oh, that was them. Where is my other servant? He should sit on a hot iron and fly away after them. John, my right ear is itching. Look back. So John looked back and saw the devil's servant flying after them on a red-hot iron. Let us quickly make magic. You will become a cornfield, and I shall become a farmer watching his golden field of corn. Then the devil's servant flew down from the sky. Listen, old farmer, have you seen young John and a princess passing this way? Shoo, shoo, sparrow, shoo, shoo. Shoo, pigeons, shoo, shoo, shoo. Old farmer, don't say shoo to me, but tell me if you have seen John and the young princess. Shoo, sparrow, shoo, shoo, shoo. Shoo, pigeons, shoo, shoo, shoo. The farmer's as mad as the priest, manservant said, and rode straight back to the devil. Did you see them? I saw no one except a field of corn and a wild farmer who shooed away all the birds. Oh, that was them, the rogues. I shall have to go myself. Oh, John, both my ears are itching now. Look back. Oh, princess, now the devil is hot behind us. Hurry, and you'll become a golden duck, and I'll become a pond. Now wait, I know who you are. I'll catch you and take you back. I swear I will. And the devil went into the water to catch the golden duck, but the duck kept swimming further in. The devil gave chase and swam further still until he reached the middle of the pond, where the water was the deepest, and the devil drowned. Then they both changed magically back. The pond became John, and the golden duck, the princess. Then they both went back to the princess's home. The king and the queen were overjoyed. They held a wonderful wedding, and they all lived happily ever after.